Yeah.
It can be said their lives can be measured not by the words that we speak, but by the actions that we take. And with every act of choice, it is required that a decision must be made. I stand before you today, not as a man, but as a soldier. And as in every battle, tough decisions must be made. But we have faced challenges before. As children, many of our decisions were made for us. And soon, it will be our destiny to make the decisions for the better welfare of our future generations. But now, my friends, it is our time to act. It is our time to stand up to the injustices and the tyrannies and say, no more. No longer will we be told who will lead us and what we will consume along our path to righteousness. We must fight for our right to literary decency, because no longer will we be told what we will read. I am speaking, of course, of the great modern battle between Harry Potter and Twilight. Now it is clear to me, as it should be to you, that although Harry Potter is vastly superior to Twilight in every way, it is only narrowly winning the war. And I say Harry Potter is superior because it teaches better morals and values. It more accurately portrays its idea of a fantasy world, and it has been a larger commercial success. So what kind of world do we live in? Or rather, what kind of world do we want to live in? The worlds of Harry Potter and Twilight may seem like ideal situations to millions of teens and tweens, but which is really more appropriate? Throughout the collective works of Harry Potter, relationships are formed that withstand all kinds of enduring tests and teaches us many valuable lessons about friendship and treating each other as human beings rather than pieces of meat. In Twilight, relationships are often taken for granted, friends are taken advantage of, and it is acceptable in the initiating phase of a relationship to stare creepily at someone while they sleep. And what about the sex? According to my estimate, or sextimate, sex is mentioned in Twilight over 6 million times. In Harry Potter, none. But the fact of the matter is that the whole motive behind a relationship between Bella and Edward is to get some cold, dead action and to have a little vampire baby. And in the 4th book, they succeed. Now, Edward may come off as charming or gentlemanly because he wants to wait and get married first and refuses to have intimacies with Bella many times. But what we are really teaching our children is that 100 no's and a yes still means yes. And do we really need more sex-crazed tweens lining up for the premiere of the next Twilight movie? Even Harry Potter's own Emma Watson has called out Twilight for being too sexy, according to the New York Daily News. Now, thinking back for a moment, what kind of world would we like to live in? A world without logical fallacies? Someplace where it all makes sense, you know? Well, tell me if this makes sense. Vampires that drink animal blood and sparkle when they are exposed to the sun. Vampires that are sexy and non-threatening. And vampires that are immune to garlic. I'll tell you one thing. Bram Stoker would be violently spinning in his grave. Vampires are supposed to be horrifying bloodsuckers that burn in the sunlight, the vicious hunters of the human race that are feared by all. But wizards. We all know wizards wear those cute pointy hats and carry wands and cast spells. They fly on broomsticks and brew potions. It is even expected they would have magical items and buildings capable of doing things that our muggle minds can only dream of. But let's not forget that we are in the midst of a battle. Twihards and Pottertards have turned a friendly competition about nerding each other into a full-blown war. But there is strength in numbers, and numbers do not lie. According to Reuters, the Harry Potter book series has sold more than 400 million copies, versus Twilight's 100 million copies, according to Publishers Weekly. And according to Box Office Mojo, the Harry Potter movies combined have pulled in more than $1.8 billion compared to Twilight's $789 million. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Michael, there are now 7 Harry Potter movies and only 3 Twilight movies. Shame on you all. Don't you think I thought of that too? I did. And the first 3 Harry Potter movies grossed $40 million more than the first 3 Twilight movies. But do not let these numbers fool you. There is still a battle to be fought. Because every time I am cut off by some idiot in a minivan with a Twilight Mom bumper sticker, I rage so hard that I have to pull over. Not because of the action, but because another soldier has been lost. So I call on you, my friends. This is your chance. And to conclude, I like to quote the dude. Yeah, well that's just like your opinion, man. Aren't we all entitled to our opinions? I say, yes, we are. But I also say, some opinions are better than others. If they weren't, we wouldn't have had the Italian Renaissance. We wouldn't have had the period of enlightenment. And America would still be a country under the rule of the British. But what if we took opinions completely out of the equation? All that would remain would be the facts. And the facts I've presented here today have been quite overwhelming. Harry Potter instills better morals and values in our homes. Harry Potter more accurately portrays its idea of a fantasy world. And Harry Potter has been more successful in doing so. But before I end, I would like to leave you with one last fact. If a vampire is not able to see himself in the mirror, then how does his hair always look so good?